All right. Hey, folks, how you doing? Ron Raymond here from the Raymond Report, along with Ross Benjamin, or I should say Mr. Red Hot Ross Benjamin from Ross Benjamin Sports. How you doing, Ross?
Oh, it's really good, Ron. Off a 3-0 day yesterday, and now it's 30-12 over the last 15 days, 13 out of 15 winning days.
You know what? The law of average is the basis of the Raymond Report, and what comes up must come down. You're up, and I was down yesterday. I didn't have a good baseball day yesterday. 0-3, my first offer for the year, but 1-1 in the hockey. Had Carolina in the under in the Colorado, and the OKC was my top play in the NBA. But Ross, talk about your day. The over in the Dodgers. What else?
Under in the Dodgers.
Unders in the Dodgers. Yeah,
yeah.
I had the over. Yeah, that was part of my. Yeah, under in the Dodgers. What else did you have?
Under in the Dodger game under 9.5 that finished 6-0. I had the Boston Bruins minus 133. Got a little lucky there, winning in overtime. And then I also had the Oakland A's in the mid-afternoon game as a minus 107 money line favorite, Ron. So they easily won 8-4 over the LA Angels. We mentioned on a show yesterday it would be hard to imagine Oakland getting swept in that series, and certainly that we sounded prophetic as far as that goes. That's now 13 out of 15 winning days, 30-12 over that period with my paid selections. And baseball just absolutely on fire right now, around 20-7, including 11-2 with my last 13 in baseball.
Now, Ross, if listeners are listening or watching right now, where could they get your package at the website?
They can get it at atsstats.com right here at Ron's website. They could also get it at my URL, rbwins.com or rossbenjaminsports.com, whichever you prefer. Weekly packages, $149. Monthly packages, $4.99. And of course, I have the annual package. Good thing about my weekly and monthly, Ron, is if I'm not making a profit for you at the end of when your term expires, I will continue on. I will extend your package until I make what I deem to be a reasonable profit for you. So you get that guarantee from me.
Wow, that's really good, because a lot of, that's like buying something at the store, and if you didn't like it, they'll keep letting you have it until you like it, right?
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah. In this day and age, it's a very competitive business, and what I like to do is show the customer, hey, if you stick with me long term, you're going to make money. If you're going to be impatient and jump from one guy to the next, you're never going to win. So
yeah, it's a good loyalty program.
Yeah,
sure. And folks, if you're interested in my package, all you gotta do is visit our website, and I'll do a screen share here, Ross. I'm on top of my game here today. I had a good night's sleep, and boom, there you go. See that?
Yes.
Okay,
there
good.
We go.
Yeah, you can get our premium picks right here by clicking on that button, or you can get our free picks along with Ross and Benjamin's free picks right here on atsstats.com. Now, Ross, sometimes you just gotta say, hey, right on. When you're right, you're it's kind of happy that you know that you're on the right track, right? And
yeah.
The SBI right now, we've been saying for 3 days now, the over is where people should be looking. And look at this, Ross. Yesterday, again, the over 9-4-1, 8-6-0, 7-3-0. We talked about it on Monday after this unders day here on the 9th of August that, folks, start looking at the overs, because we were in an unders market for way so long that the overs had to start coming in. And sure enough, Ross, the overs, especially yesterday, really came through.
Yeah, the last 3 days. What do we're talking 15, 24, and 13. Yeah. So yeah. Sound prophetic once again, Mr. Raymond.
Yeah, so thanks, appreciate that. And again, the favorites, here's the thing in money line sports like NHL and hockey, the favorites, as you can see, 63.8 on the year. They're going to hover between 58 and 63% on the year. It's really tough to, I've been thinking about this a lot the last couple of days. Picking favorites, even though the minus 101 to 106 to 1, did they win again yesterday? Probably.
I didn't check that, but
okay.
Yeah,
that Dodger game really threw a wrench in your motor today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, you know what? Picking favorites in baseball, You really got to pick your spots for those. Like I had yesterday, I was on the dogs. I had San Francisco. I had Milwaukee as a small favorite. Let me see here. Yeah, so I thought really some underdogs would come in yesterday, like in like San Fran, but sure enough, Milwaukee just man, I think Minnesota's still hitting right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about it, and we'll get into it with Ellis here a bit with his batting average. Holy crap! Like, hey, like I said, it's so bad for Ellis. He struck out in T-ball right now.
I know. It certainly seems that way.
Yeah.
I mean, how about Chris? The whole Milwaukee team, I guess, this was a team that's been a potent offensive team over the last couple of years, Ron, and they just aren't getting it done offensively right now.
Yeah, he's batting 175, and the worst part is Ryan Braun, your cleanup hitter. He's 143. Your cleanup hitter can't bat 143. I'm sorry to say.
No.
Like you gotta do something if you're in Milwaukee right now. Mix it up. Now, looking at the 3-day average, Ross, we're in a neutral market now for favorites. 56% 44 of the underdogs. So I think again. Because we're in a neutral market, 58% on the 3-day average. And looking at 8 and 6, 10 and 4, I think it's a neutral market. I think you can just go anywhere right now. And I think favorites and underdogs are the way to go. And for the over-under, I'm still going to ride the overs here. I think the overs where you want to start looking today, even though it's a light card with 6 games on deck. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's certainly leaning that way over the last 3 days. And again, folks, if you're new to baseball betting, and we can't make the assumption that everybody's baseball betting savvy when they watch the show, that 63.8% could be awful misleading because you get favorites of better than 150 that are going to hover somewhere around 65% over the year, but you could lose money that way too. For example, I didn't look what happened yesterday as far as the results go on favorites of 150 or above, but the day before they were 4-3 and they lost money.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Ron.
Oh, sorry. No, you finished your thought, Ross.
Yeah, and we had mentioned the favorites of 106 to 150. They were hitting at a 61% clip. That's where you'll make your money. So stay away from those big favorites, folks. And don't get caught up with that 63.8% figure. And you also can't be betting underdogs all the time, too. You have to find, like Ron says, shop for value.
Yeah. And one tip I'll say, Ross, in baseball, follow the SBI, the Sports Betting Index, and then pick your spots to if you're going to bet underdogs or small favorites, because that's the only way, to me, I think, and betting totals. I think totals is whenever the SBI is so heavily on say favorites, and it's the time for the dogs where you want to stay away from those favorites, because the favorites, look at that, 63.8%. You're not going to make any money betting favorites because eventually you're going to get burnt. But look at this, 44.9% of the overs have come in so far. This will end by the end of the year. Today is August 13th. Mark my words, this will be around 47 or 49 to 51% range back to balance. And this is why keep an eye on the overs, because what goes up must come down. And at the end of the day, the bookmakers, it's just amazing. You can go back 10 years, 20 years. This over-under on the season total for totals will always hover around 48 to 52%. It's an amazing, amazing. That's how they make their money with the juice, right? So they have to balance it.
So based on that, Ron, going over the total, you would have a 4 to 8% edge for the rest of the baseball season. But again, you can't just blindly bet overs, right, Ron?
No.
And the good thing about betting totals too, folks, as Ron alluded to before, the reason why it's so attractive to him and to myself is that you don't ever have to lay a lot of juice on totals.
Yeah.
So you may, on occasion, a total may be, especially in hockey, you may catch one that's minus 135, okay? But for the most part, it's going to fall between a plus 100 to minus 120 range.
Yeah, and I'll let you know on one of my ways. And when I handicap a game, there's 2 things I look for: small cycles of 3 games, and playing the percentage in the small cycle game, and 2, I don't mess with streaks. Baltimore Orioles shows you exactly that. Like yesterday, like the Cal for Baltimore was in the 30-some% range. I can't remember exactly. Maybe I have it on file.
And Cal's chance of winning, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Chance of winning. But because they were on a 4-game win streak, either you go with the streak or you don't touch that game. And if you would have went with Baltimore yesterday, and even though they had a low Cal, because they were on a, once you get to a 3-game win streak, you can talk me into it. Once you get to 4, you got to ride it.
Yeah, and the other thing is a bad team that's on a losing streak. Don't ask, again, I've said this many times, and I learned this from Mark Lawrence many years ago, is don't ask bad teams to do good things for you. It's one thing if the Dodgers are on a 3 or 4 game losing streak because you know that's not going to continue. It's another thing if a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates, not to pick on them, but for example, they've been a losing team for the last few years. If they're on a 4 or 5 game losing streak, backing them is like trying to catch an inside straight in poker,
So Ross, let's talk about the big 6 games on deck here today. And we're going to kick it off at Citi Field with the New York Mets taking on the Washington Nationals. Now, the bookmakers, this is a 110 start, so this is going to be an early one. 130 is the price here on the Mets. I had them at 156 price along with the Nationals, so a bit overvalued here for a team that's 8-11. David Peterson getting the call against Austin Voth of the Nats. We got 4.55, 3.93, the over-under at 8.48. What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, again, if you go by cycles, right, and this what must go up must come down kind of adage that Ron uses, 11-6 game yesterday, won by the Mets, easily over the total. The Washington Nationals 4-0 under this year, following an over in the previous game, and the New York Mets 6-0 under this year, following an over in their previous game.
Yeah, and the Kogo's at 48%, so it's on the borderline of the market psychology of the bookmaker of what's come in the last few. I'm just taking a quick glance here, Ross, on the Raymond report to see exactly if there's anything sticking out. So road teams this season, after a game where they scored 6 runs, 4 in the last game, the under 5-13-2, so that does favor Washington. But the New York home teams after a conference game, 15-7-1 to the over. So far. Oh, look at this one. Any team that allowed, home team that allowed 6 runs against in their last game this season, 14-2 to the under. So yin and the yang, this is a tough game.
Again, one of those conflicting environments, right, Ron, where everything points toward the under, but then, the unders have been coming in so much. And then what you alluded to, and when that happens, steer clear. Yeah,
flip a quarter. Yeah. Baltimore taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, the Phillies a bit overvalued here at -190. Again, a team like Philly that has a lot of public figures that are high-profile players like Harper, and then you got a manager in Girardi. It tends to have an overhyped price here, and that's what I think what's happening with Philly. Even though they got a great lineup, they're underachieving right now. -190 is the price. 5-8 on the season, up against Baltimore, 10-7.
I would have thought.
Yeah, it's just I kick myself for not. When you handicap and there's something pulling you back, saying no, don't do it, don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, you gotta. If you go with them, you roll with the punches, and you take the risk. You look like a genius. But Jake Arrieta getting the call here today against Tom Eshelman. Now the forecast. Even the computer pick doesn't believe in Baltimore. 5.29, 3.8. The over-under set at 9.09. 55% chance of going over. Ross, I talked about it earlier in the show. 5-game winning streak. If you like Baltimore, keep riding them.
No doubt about it. And Philadelphia's bullpen right now is an enigma. On the year, Ron, their bullpen, a 9.63 ERA, a 196 WHIP, and 11 home runs allowed in 38 1/3 innings. That's just atrocious. And by the way, talking about a genius, if you have bet on Baltimore as a road dog of +150 or greater this year, you've gone 6-1, and just at $100 a game, folks, you profited $940.
Baltimore should consider just playing away games. They're 7-3 so far in the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but Camden Yard is a great ballpark. Like that's it's well.
I was there last year for the first time, Ron, and
Oh,
it's
were you?
everything. Yeah, it was
Lucky you.
everything that actually I saw the Toronto Blue Jays there,
Oh, awesome.
ironically, but it was everything that had been described to me, and it's going on 20-something years now that ballpark's been around, but it still has that old time stadium feel with the modern amenities.
Is it built in like in an industrial park or something?
Yeah, it's right in the middle of the industrial zone in Baltimore.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, those are. See, the last 5 years ago, me and my wife every summer we take a road trip and we visit one ballpark a year. That's what we plan on doing. And
Yeah.
this year was supposed to be Pittsburgh, but because of COVID, but Baltimore's on the to-do list.
Got to be on that bucket list, Ron.
Yeah, you know what?
Camden Yards, man. You
there's something
got to go to Boog Powell's pork stand there.
Oh, really?
Outstanding. Oh yeah.
Like Portillo's in Chicago.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's legendary there in Baltimore.
Yeah. So, man, I miss going out to the ballpark. Taking Tampa Bay against the Boston Red Sox. Now the Rays here. One more game, they're going to sweep the Bull Sox here.
Yeah.
148 is the price. 9.5 is the over/under. ATS forecast, going with the Rays here. 5.65, 5.54. Kyle Hart. That's all I need to say right now about Boston. Tyler Glasnow for Tampa Bay. I keep calling them the D-Rays. The on a 5-game win streak, the over/under, the Kogo is at 47%. You know what? Boston, 6-12 on the year, 6-11-1. Man, talk about a team that's struggling this year.
Yeah, 3-8 at Fenway Park. Kyle Hart is the starter today, like Ron touched upon, and he spent last year between Portland in Double-A ball and Pawtucket in Triple-A ball. This will be his first ever Major League Baseball appearance today, Ron.
Oh,
and he's going up against a red-hot Tampa Bay team. So, boy, oh boy. Boston, by the way, Ron, they're facing right-hander Tyler Glasnow. Boston is 7-1 under the total versus right-handed starters this year. Who would have thought a couple years ago you would ever be talking about Boston being a plus 140 home underdog? Boy, oh boy.
Well, here's the good news for Boston. Home teams in the 4th game of a series this season. It's not it's nothing to write home about. 5-5, so there is hope, Ross, for for Kyle Hart.
Right now, Tampa Bay in this series, Ron. I mean, we've alluded to Boston's pitching, how terrible it's been. First 3 games of the series, the Rays have scored 25 runs and banged out 40 hits. Wow.
That's amazing. I'm just taking a quick glance here at the.
Good luck with a pitcher who's pitching in the Tyler Hart or Kyle Hart, who's making his major league debut today.
And Tampa Bay, I was big on them at the beginning of the year, and check this out. Excuse me, the Yankees 12 wins, Tampa Bay 11, and Baltimore 2 games behind. So you know what I mean.
The shortened season, man, you never know. Between Baltimore and Miami, 2 of the worst teams in baseball over the last couple seasons, and right now they're a combined 18-11.
Yeah, and throw in Detroit 1.5 games behind.
Exactly.
Old Gardy there's got the Tigers a game behind the those Minnesota Twins.
The surprising Minnesota.
The surprising Twins. All right, Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Now the Reds a 169 favorite, over under 7.9. ATS forecast, the computer pick. Going to lean with the Bucks here, 4.51, 3.66. The over under set at 8.17. Now the Anthony DeScalafani going for the Reds up against Trevor Williams for the Pirates. 3-13 on the year, 8-7-1 to the over/under. Bucks on a 3-game losing streak, where Cincinnati 8-10. And Ross, every day so far this week, we've been giving out the 80% club stats. Folks, stick around to the end of the show. I got a great 80% club stat on this game you don't want to miss.
And I got a very nice betting angle on this game, by the way, and I'll explain that later and go into a little more detail.
All right, so we got a chance of winning at 61%, 91% for the Pirates. Now looking at the value index, I had the Bucks at 213 here. You're getting, there's not really, and then you got Cincy overvalued. There's no way I'm touching this game on the side. Maybe the total is where I'm leaning. 41% chance of this game going over the total. I think the total is where you want to look at this game here.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to lay that kind of number with a Cincinnati team whose bullpen's absolutely horrible. And how do you, again, going back to what I said before, with Pittsburgh, you're asking a bad team to do good things for you. So,
yeah. And just taking a look at some of the stats here on both these teams, man.
and I was surprised. I look at this since 2018, Ron.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's 26-14 against Cincinnati.
Oh, wow. So, hey, that falls into the, sometimes a team does very well and then owns that team, right? And maybe they'll have to check Trevor Williams' record against the Reds.
He's done awfully well. He's 7-2, and his team starts in his career against Cincinnati with a 2.03 ERA.
Wow. So, hey, you know what? If you're ready to bite the bullet, then Pittsburgh today, why not? 91% chance of winning. Speaking of disappointments, Milwaukee Brewers 7-9 on the season. Right now they got no hitting going on. Coming off a 12-2 loss last night to Minnesota. Ross, Brewers are in trouble. They're 170 up against a 12-3 Chicago Cubs team. Man, I got an email this morning from the MLB and looking at their lineup for the Cubs, 1-9. This is a tough Cubs team. Yeah,
I mean, look, they went into Cleveland. They scored 7 runs on consecutive nights against a Cleveland team that hadn't allowed more than 4 runs all season long. So, yeah, this is a potent Cubs lineup, and they're starting to look like the Cubs that won the World Series a few years ago under Joe Madden. Milwaukee, I scratch my head how this team could be so bad out of the gate at home. They've been so good at home over the last couple seasons, and the big thing in Milwaukee is they're just not hitting. And like Ron touched upon, Christian Yelich and Ryan Braun specifically, giving them nothing so far. Here's the thing, Ron. Milwaukee and Chicago, division rivals. Since 2018, this will be the first game at Wrigley Field between these teams this season. But since 2018, this series, when played at Wrigley Field, is 18-3-1 under the total.
Wow, 18-3-1. Okay, wow. Ross, also doesn't get any better for Milwaukee. Road teams this year coming off a loss as a favorite, 3-9 straight up in their next game. So not a good situation here for the. And
actually, Ron, the Brewers, I complain about how bad they are at home. They are 5-3 on the road, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes that's what the doctor ordered: get away from home cooking and go start eating Portillo hot dogs.
You're not going to get to the promised land with that, though.
You know? All right, San Diego taking on the Dodgers. Now Dodgers looking to even up the series here. It's 2-1 favoring the San Diego. San Diego took the first 2. Dodgers blanked the Padres yesterday 6-0. And looking at the starting pitchers today, you got Julio Urias for the Dodgers up against Chris Paddock, who's 3-1 for the Padres when he starts. The Padres are 3-1. 4-0, however, in those starts. That always scares me when a pitcher's 3-1, but those overs are 4-0. Like, who's doing all the scoring? Is it them, or is it is it 10-9 type games at the Coors Field? And looking at the forecast, Ross, 4.41, 3.5. The over/under is 7.91. You got to think the Dodgers even up the series today.
Yeah, I mean, you look at San Diego; they're going to be facing a lefty in Urias. Since last year, Ron, the Padres are 3-15 against left-handed starters on the road.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you said Paddock, and you want to know if they're giving up a lot of runs. Well, Paddock, 3.18 ERA and a 1.02 WHIP in those 4 starts. So San Diego's scoring a lot of runs in those outings, I would imagine. And the other thing is both of these teams possess a lot of power, but the first 3 games of the series have gone under the total.
Yeah, and surprising enough, Dodgers 5-5 against division foes at home this year. For a team that's supposed to be labeled as one of the contenders to win the World Series, and we talked about this yesterday, you got to be more dominant at home if you're going to win a World Series.
Yeah, and trying to come back on the Dodgers, it's always a good idea to get a lead on them because their bullpen, Ron, has just been lights out. I mean, this Dodgers bullpen, 1.24 ERA and 0.98 WHIP. Folks, I mentioned this yesterday. unlike any other year, I would really, really, when you handicap Major League Baseball this year, you have to look at the bullpen performance of teams, whether it be over the last 7 games for the entire year. Starters, Ron, I just heard this on a broadcast last night. Major League Baseball starting pitchers are averaging less than 5 innings per outing this year, which is unheard of.
Yeah, you know what? You that's a great point. There was yesterday I was looking at something, and that's one thing I went and looked at on the pitching stats, and I'm saying 3 innings, 4 innings. But this, I wonder, and I've said this at the beginning of the year, is this one of the strategies that teams are using in the shortened season to saving their pitchers' arms? Like I saw Mad Max the other night, 105 pitches against the New York Mets. I'd be interested to see the average number of pitches per pitcher.
Yeah.
You know, to see if they're my God, they're not even going 6-7 innings. Like,
well, let's not forget, Ron, you know, you're not going to see the off days in regularity like we've had in past seasons.
Yeah.
And then you get these COVID-19 cancellations because of teams like Philadelphia and St. Louis and Miami. And all of a sudden now teams are going to be forced to play a bunch of games, more games in as many days as they've ever had to do before. So it's almost like you have to stretch out your rotation. And part of the way to do that is what Tampa Bay has done over the last couple of years. Rather than go 5 deep into the rotation, they'll go 3 deep, and then the other 2 starts or 2 times in the rotation, they'll piece together their bullpen to get through a game. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. And then with the expanded rosters, Ron, you got 30 players as opposed to 25. That eventually will go down to 25. But right now, managers have more options as to what to do in those situations.
Well,
so
point taken with Tampa Bay, right? Starting Kittredge the other day against Boston.
Yeah.
You know, putting their some of these relievers as starting pitchers. I think you're going to start seeing more relievers.
The Yankees do it on occasion. Tyler Clippard started a game the other day, you know, and he's a reliever.
I think that was his second start too.
Yeah, Minnesota's done that on a couple occasions as well. So, you know, go figure. Yep. It's just something we have to take into account, and that's where you have to, like you say, adjust on the fly, Ron, to use hockey terminology, because this season is unlike any other one that we've had to handicap.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what, you know, and as handicappers, you know, that's where you make your bread and butter, right? You got to find those weaknesses in the schedule and just capitalize on it. It's handicapping today compared to 1990 and the early 2000s. Total different mindset, ball game, internet changed everything. You know, the system you used back then compared, and it's all about information. You know, it's like comparing when we went to school to when kids go to school today. Like the information they have access to compared to what we had, it's night and day, absolute night and day, and it changes a lot of your mindset on the way you approach things.
Yeah, and you know what, Ron? I'm going to take a look at National League teams against National League teams this year, because let's not forget, for the first time ever in Major League Baseball, both leagues are using designated hitters. And we look at the unders right now, and I think the books have escalated those totals up a little bit. Sometimes if it's even a half a run, Ron, it makes a difference, right? Because no longer when National League teams play National League teams is the pitcher required to hit. You know,
look at the Cubs total today.
Yeah. So, I mean, that may have something to do with the unders, because usually coming out of spring training, in this particular case, coming out of summer camp, pitchers are well ahead of hitters. And then the odds makers making that adjustment for, okay, every game's going to have a DH now. Okay. So it makes a difference.
Yeah. Now, Ross, we've introduced the 80% club stats again. Yesterday we had Houston as one of the top plays, and I think it was the over in Atlanta. I think that was a push at 9. And then we had the Houston. That was an easy winner. But let's go to the 80% club. I got a really good system stat.
So that's 2 days in a row. Actually, you won a parlay on that, because you're still win money on a 1-0-1 in a parlay.
Yeah. Now, folks, if you're a member of ATS, you go to dashboard, you go to 80% club. And then from here, you go into MLB. And we're going to go to that Cincinnati Reds here. And I think we used this the other day too. The Reds as a 160 to 180 home favorite coming off a loss last 7 years. 14-1 straight up for 93.3%. And also when the Reds are minus 160 to 180 home favorite coming off a loss in game 2 of a series the last 10 years, 9-1 straight up in the next game. So pretty solid information right there, Ross Benjamin.
Yeah, and you know what? You can't get caught up with the big number or the lot of juice that they're laying today, because when you put this in a parlay, okay, it takes on the odds are a little bit different. As far as the payout.
And the next one I'm going to give here, Ross, I'm going to skip the Phillies one. I'm going to the 17-2. This one I cannot ignore. The Mets are 17-2 straight up as a 120 to 140 home favorite coming off a left-handed pitcher the last 7 years. That's pretty deep.
Yeah, it is.
9.4%. So, folks, take it with a grain of salt. Those are the 80% club stats. Now, because there's only 6 games today, there's only 30 stats in the club today. And it sounds like some dance club, eh? The 80% club.
Yeah.
Hey,
but the last 2 days it's cashed.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe I should rename this to Studio 57 Club, right?
You got way too much time on your hands.
I got to crack a window open in there or something. Gotta get some air in here. All right. Yeah. Hey, Ross, you know what? We're going to breeze through this real quickly just since there's only 4 NHL.
Hey, let me give you this betting angle I got. I'm not going to use it today, okay? Because it supports the Pittsburgh Pirates. But just interesting here. I mean, Trevor Williams is going to be going on 8 days rest today for the Pirates. And Anthony DeSclafani, he has given up 2 runs or less in each of his last 2 starts. So anytime you have a road team with a starting pitcher that's working on 7 or more days of rest, and they're facing a starting pitcher that's given up 1 earned run, or less in his last 2, which DeSclafani hasn't allowed an earned run yet this year. They've gone 55-39 since 2016. Now, Ron, that's only 58.5%, but the average money line in those 94 games supporting the road teams had an average money line of plus 144. So right now, if you played plus 151, I'm sorry, if you played all 94 of those road teams in that particular situation over the last 5 years at just risking $100, you made $4,440. Yeah,
that's a pretty good dog trend right there, like system. And like you said, it's not a system where like you're laying like 180, 200. No. That's a pretty solid dog under trend.
It just, if it wasn't for the fact that Pittsburgh's so bad, I would really, really contemplate using this. DeSclafani, he doesn't have a very good history against the Pirates either. And the Pirates, like I alluded to, 26-14 against Cincinnati since 2018. And I already touched upon Trevor Williams, 7-2, and his team starts with a little over 2 ERA.
Awesome. All right, let's take a look at some of the NHL today here, Ross. We're going to share the screen. Let me see here, make sure I got the right. So game number 1 is a 3 o'clock start. Man, I hope there's no overtime today because
I don't know how much these teams are going to have left in the tank, huh?
Yeah, if not, tell Carolina, Boston there. So your game will start at 10 tonight.
So what's your experience, Ron? I mean, let's put it this way. There hasn't been a lot of games in NHL playoff history that's gone to 5 overtimes. There's been a few. But let's just say any team that plays 2 overtimes or more in their previous game. Have you found these games to be lackluster, low scoring? What's your experience off the top of your head?
Yeah, I don't have any data to back it up, but from handicapping these type of games, your original mindset would be to, because they're tired, they're in the tank, they won't have a lot of energy this game, so you probably won't be as physical in this game. Yeah. So because of lack of physicality, you probably get less penalties, and you probably get a tighter checking game. So you're probably looking at a 2-1, 3-2 again type game. That's But going into this game here, Columbus, Nick Foligno.
Yeah.
I was listening to Ron McLean the other day, and he goes, "What is with Foligno now? It's like it's part of his image to always stare down a ref at the end of a game."
Yeah, because he's getting called for penalties in
Yeah,
overtime. It's
yeah. But I still believe in Columbus. Tampa Bay, to me, even though they won game one, it took them forever, everything to get them. I just think the Columbus will wear these guys down eventually in the sixth, seventh. But Columbus, they cannot fall behind 2-0 in this series. There's part of me that says this is a law of average theory, where Columbus beat them 4-0 last year. Now it's probably going to be payback that way. I hope not, because I got Columbus on a ticket here for this one. I just don't see Tampa Bay as dominant as they were last year, but they do have a bit more grittier guys. Like Coleman stepped up. Gord is there. Braden Point played really well last game. Got that winner over the shoulder. If they get Stamkos, I hear he's in the bubble, and he could be close to coming back. So if they get Stamkos back, and it just adds to their firepower, right? Vasilevsky, he's been like a big sponge out there, the 6'6" sponge. He's been good, but I would take Columbus today plus 150. I think there's value there, Ross. Or if you like the under, I always say if you like the underdog, take the under. If you like the favorite, take the over. But I'm all over Columbus here today, even though the computer here likes Tampa Bay.
Is Corpusalo starting in goal today? I mean, I asked that only because he faced 88 shots just 2 days ago.
I don't see why not. You always ride the hot hand.
You're right, exactly. I mean, that would make me a little leery, the amount of rubber he saw in the last game. This is a perfect example of one team having far more talent in Tampa Bay against another team that might be the better team collectively in Columbus. So it'll be interesting what we see in game two.
Yeah, and Hedman's logging a lot of ice time too. So, and he's just
Seth Jones was over 60 minutes.
Boy, and he's a big guy too. So I don't think he's used to putting in that many minutes in a game. But you know what? It's going to be another good game here, I hope, today. Chicago taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. And we talked about this last time, Ross. Chicago, maybe against Edmonton, that was their Stanley Cup, because Vegas right now, more physical. They're more deeper. A little surprised Robin Leonard got the call here, and it looks like he's going to get the call again today against Corey Crawford. I just don't know what's going on with Fleury right now. But Vegas Golden Knight minus 178, over-under set at 6. Forecast has a 43% chance winning for Chicago. If Chicago doesn't get it done today, this could be a quick series. Looking at this game, Ross, there's no way I'm laying 178. If I'm going to play this, it's probably a total, maybe over. 50% chance on the Kogo, and what's the total at 6? You pray for a 3-3, and then you get a 4-3 overtime win type thing, get the over. But I think the over is where I'm going today.
Yeah, Vegas playing on all cylinders right now, 3-0 in the round-robin format to get the number 1 seed. Chicago, as Ron alluded to, probably expended themselves as much as they can in the series against Edmonton. Let's not forget, folks, this was a number 12 seed going into this series. So, again, I would lean toward trying to handicap the total here, because if Chicago is going to come up big, it's going to be today. You know what I mean, Ron? They don't want to fall behind 2-0. I think if you're going to see a big effort from the Blackhawks, it's going to be right here in game 2.
Yeah, and the captain's got to, keep producing like he's been doing. Like Jonathan Toew's been awesome. Patrick Kane, I haven't really seen a lot of Kane. So, Patrick Kane's got to really step up here if they wanted to win this game. Now, the game of the night, Carolina-Boston, this, it didn't disappoint in game 1. I got Carolina on a ticket in the series. I still believe in Carolina. Rod the Bod is all upset about that play, and I don't blame him. To me, that puck was smothered, but, they got it loose, and, it sounded like sour milk, but whatever. Boston, that was a typical Boston Bruin win yesterday. Just hang in there, bang, get physical, and get to overtime, win the game. Boston to me looks like an old team right now on defense. I know Chara's not looking obviously he's 40-some years old now. Tuukka Rask looked pretty solid, but I think Carolina is going to make the proper adjustments today. I think Carolina plus 120 is going to be my top play here today.
Yeah, the only thing I would be leery of is the Bruins are now 7-0 in their last 7 against Carolina.
Yeah, so that's something to watch out for. Calgary taking on Dallas. Dallas, speaking of old team, they're looking old right now. Jamie Benn, Pavelski, Corey Perry. What's Corey Perry doing dropping the gloves? That's a young man's thing to do. Yeah. But good on him for stepping up. I always love seeing the older guys like Spezza the other night. Spezza fighting, like, guys, come on.
Yeah, it's playoff time, Ron. The veterans trying to show some leadership, I guess.
That's exactly it, right? Like just trying to step up. And, pride thing too, right? They don't want – nobody – if you play sports and when you've lost a step, the first thing you want to do is show your toughness, and I think that's what's happening right there. 2.62, 2.6. I think Calgary here, great price. But, there's no way they're going to sweep them. And if you're going to play Dallas, I think this might be the spot that they get it. But I think Calgary still wins the series.
Yeah, similar to what I alluded to in the Chicago series. Dallas knows if they get behind the 8-ball 2-0, their odds of winning the series go astronomically down. And I look for them to come up with a big effort today. That is a veteran club, as Ron alluded to. Did not finish the year very well, meaning Dallas, and also wasn't great in the round robin format. I think the only game they won was in a shootout. Calgary, to me, wins this series in 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, no, you know what, Ross, looking at the stats here in the Raymond report, going back to the last 10 games, even prior to COVID, Dallas averaging 1.6 goals for in the last 10, 1.8, 1.3 in the last 3. You can't, you're lucky to be in the playoffs here with that type of scoring
They're
average.
Too top heavy, Ron. I mean, meaning their first line is really good. But you get into their third and fourth lines, you're getting no scoring from there. So, and when it comes to this time of year, you got to be able to roll 4 lines, Ron. You do. I mean, that's the only way you're going to get through this grind and get to the pinnacle. Yeah,
and Tyler Seguin, I think he sat out loud. I don't know if he's injured right now, but not having Tyler Seguin in there that doesn't help matters. So there you have it, Ross. That's the NHL forecast today for Thursday, August 13th. Do you believe that? August 13th already?
Yeah.
It's
the NFL is less than a month away, Ron.
Yeah, you know what? Like right now, we should be talking preseason games, but it is what it is, and we'll see what happens next. But before we go, Ross, anything? Hey, folks, if you want to ride a hot hand right now, you got to get on Ross Benjamin's picks because he's Frank's red hot right now.
Yes, sir. I'm one of those roles, Ron, that we never want to end. Over the last 15 days, 30-12 with my paid picks, 11-2 in my last 13 in Major League Baseball, 13 out of 15 winning days. Handicapping everything, NHL, Major League Baseball, the NBA. I've been a little bit walking slow for I'll get back. I'm more a heavier load once the playoffs begin. But Ron, if you're going to ride the hot hand, you got to buy something for me right now because like you say, what goes up must come down. I just hope your law averages don't work for me.
Yeah, not yet, right? Let's ride this up. Let's ride the cloud 9 a little bit longer.
Yep.
So, Ross, that was a great show today. I'm glad we got some of that baseball and that hockey in. Every time you get some hockey picks in at the end, always puts a smile on my face. But, hey, have yourself a great day, Ross. As always, folks, he's Ross Benjamin. I'm Ron Raymond. This was the Raymond Report for Thursday, August 13th. Have yourself a good one. As always, shop for value. Play those percentages. We'll see you back shortly with another Raymond Report.